You're watching the Norfolk Southern Sherwood Subdivision. I'm Harold. Thanks for watching today. Today's video is about simple steps to set up a new locomotive equipped with DCC on your layout. If you're familiar with these steps and familiar with what some people call programming, which really isn't, of DCC, you might consider skipping this video. Perhaps you'd have an interest in our operations videos, or our layout construction videos, or how-to videos, all of which can be found in playlists on our channel's homepage. If you want to learn more about simple steps to set up a new locomotive, stay tuned. This is our new locomotive. It's an ES44 DC from Norfolk Southern. It's an Athearn Genesis model, which has a Tsunami 2 sound decoder in it. So let's turn it on and see what it sounds like. Wow, that is really loud. Let me turn the sound off and we'll talk about some things that we can do to influence the volume and other settings on our locomotive. Alright, I've turned the volume off. Now I'm going to put my controller down for a second. In the world of DCC, there is something called configuration variable programming. And there's something called a programming track, and you see the word programming all over the place. Well, I don't want to be a programmer, I'm a model railroader. I didn't sign up to write code or develop programs or do these kinds of things. So, what's the real story? Well, the real story is what the literature calls DCC programming is as simple as using the remote on your television. What do you do with the remote on your television? You may choose a channel that you want to watch, and when you get to that channel, you may choose the volume at which you want to watch it. Most, not all, most DCC programming is as simple as that. So we'll show you some examples right now. The first thing that you should do when you receive a new locomotive, other than what we already found out, which is the sound's too loud, depends on where you got it. I got this at my local hobby retailer, and when I purchased it, I had them take it out of the box, run it around their test track, so I knew that everything was working. The ditch lights worked, the headlights worked, the sound was working, the ditch lights on the rear also worked, all those sorts of things. If you purchased your model from an online retailer, you didn't have that opportunity. So I certainly recommend that you go ahead and do those tests and make sure that everything is working right. If it's not, send it back. You should not have to pay the price you have to pay for this kind of model for something that's defective. So if it doesn't work out of the box, return it. Now back to our original thought. Out of the box, locomotives equipped with DCC, whether they have sound or not, are programmed with address 3. Address is the identity of the locomotive as known to your DCC system. Instead of 3, we want this to be 7513. So we will go through the steps to change that. I have a Digitrax system. I'm going to change the address of this locomotive to 7513 using the method that Digitrax suggests. If you have another kind of system, for example NCE, the steps that you will take to change the locomotive's address will be different. So I'm not going to demonstrate the buttons that I push. I will just go ahead and make the change. I have gone through the steps to change the locomotive's address to 7513. So if on my controller I select the old number, which was 3, and do something, nothing happens. If I select 7513, you can hear the locomotive comes on. I'm going to turn the sound off again. And you can see it moves. So, the first step is to give the locomotive an address that makes sense. It's usually the number that's on the locomotive. There are a couple of other things that I would recommend that you do, and we'll see those next. And we're going to talk right now about what's called programming configuration variables. It's nothing more than finding a configuration variable that you want to change. It's like finding a channel on your television and entering the value that you want it to be changed to. For sounds alone, just sounds, there are 32 different sounds that this locomotive can produce because of the Tsunami 2 sound decoder. So now our mission is to change the volume of the prime mover. First of all, let's hear what the volume is right now. Pretty loud, huh? I'll turn it off. If we look at our manual, we'll find out that the prime mover's volume is influenced by CV131. So we'll go to our programming, which isn't CV131. Let's say we give it a value of, we'll try 100 and see what that does. I'll turn it back on. Let's hear it. Yeah, it's not nearly as loud. But I still think it's too loud, so let's try something else. We'll go back to programming. CV131, we had a value of 100. Let's change it to 50. Try it again. Yeah, that's a little more benign. And when you turn the prime mover sounds down, the other sounds may be easier to hear, like the bell. There's the bell. And of course there's a CV to control the volume of the bell. Here's the horn. Wow, it's really loud. Short horn. We may want to consider changing those. So, we'll do that in a moment. Once again, I'll turn the volume and sound off. We have learned through our little test that the horn sounds like this. It's really loud. And the bell sounds like this. It's pretty loud also. So we might want to consider changing that. I'm going to turn the volume off again. The horn's volume is CV129 according to the documentation. And its default value according to Digitrax is 225. Maximum value is 255. So it's way, way, way too loud. Let's see if we can change that. So I'll go to programming. CV129. And let's try a value of 100. Oh, we had to turn the sounds on to do that. So still pretty loud. Okay. Well, let's try this again. CV129, we had a value of 100. Let's change it to 50. That's a little more reasonable. Let's try the bell. I'll leave the sound on this time. Bell CV130. Let's try a value of 50 for that too. Now the bell. It's not nearly as loud. And you can play around with these values all day by using the same technique. In most CVs, the larger number that you give them, the more you get of what it is that you're controlling. Oh, there's one of those other sounds that it has. It has talk between the locomotive and the tower, so we might want to consider turning that off eventually. So that's it for sounds for right now. Well, let's see how this thing operates. We'll get it moving forward. That's speed step 1. We're very good, low speed motion. Speed step 2. 3, 4, 5. Now watch what happens when I turn it back to 0. It stops on a dime. Have you ever seen a locomotive do that? Even your car won't do that. So we need to do something to make this more prototypical in its operation. And that something is called momentum. To correct that jerky start and stop, we will program some momentum. I have programmed CV3, forward momentum, and CV4, backward momentum, to values of 100. I'll show you what the difference is. Going forward, first of all, it'll start out more slowly. I'm already in speed step 4 and see it's gaining speed as opposed to jumping up to speed. Now I'm going to turn it all together down to 0, and you notice it coasts. And the same would be true in the opposite direction. Starts out more slowly, that's speed step 15 right there. Builds up. And if I turn the speed steps to 0, like I have now, it'll coast. For a yard engine, you probably don't want a lot of momentum because you're going to be doing switching. You'd be using the brakes all the time. For a locomotive like this, that's intended for long haul mainline service, you probably do want momentum. And that's done with CVs 3 and 4. So let's review. We got our new locomotive. It was really loud. We turned the volume down, the prime mover down. Sounds like this now. Previously it was twice that volume. We also made changes to the bell. The horn. And we learned that programming, as the books call it, isn't really programming. It's more like using your TV remote. So don't think you're going to have to write code. It's simply finding the right CV and giving it a value in accordance with the instructions for your DCC system. There are, of course, many other things that can be done. There are over 1,000 configuration variables. And there are some things that you might consider doing in the future to further improve operation of your locomotives. You can do things like speed matching, put in speed curves, implement double heading or consisting. And you can deal with the esoterics of back EMF. Those topics are beyond our little introduction that we have given today, but I have a good source for them. Check out Greg at Fishplate Films. He has a series of videos that talk about all those topics that we just identified, goes into them in great detail, and shows you how to program so that those items are effective. So we thank Greg for doing that, and I hope you go visit his channel where he has a lot of other interesting layout construction videos, and I think you'll enjoy that and you'll learn a lot about Tsunami 2 programming from Greg. For now, we thank you for watching this video. If you have any comments or questions, please record them below, and we thank you for watching the Norfolk Southern Sherwood Subdivision.